Hello, everyone. This is the Heaven and Earth podcast. We are here today with our dear friend and teacher, Jason Drevenak, and I'm Crystal.
I'm Merlin.
And we're going to start us off today with just the astrological weather report.
So right now the moon is in Aquarius, which is great for innovative, creative, out-of-the-box thinking. I think is also very fitting for Jason here, who is an Aquarius sun, if I remember correctly.
You're
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. And Jason is one of the most creative and I may say out-of-the-box, innovative people that I know. It's very special. So it's very good to see you again too, Jason.
And you as well. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we've all been together.
It has been a minute. It has been a minute. A lot has happened in the
One way
interim.
to put it.
We're drinking today. We're drinking chicory root here with Jason. Jason, is there anything? Oh, look, she's
My
got
beautiful
beautiful
chicory
chicory
flower.
flower. Is
And the
there
rest of it's in here.
nice, nice? Is there anything you'd like to share with us about what you love about chicory?
Oh wow. So this was kind of a last minute, obviously, decision that we made. There's always been something really cool about chicory. I like that kind of lavender color flower. It's always a nightmare if you're having to mow it. There was something always that I thought was cool about it. Years and years and years and years and years ago, I found out that chicory was a coffee substitute way back during frontier times. It doesn't have any caffeine, but it's a taste-wise coffee substitute, and it's a fantastic blood cleanser. And so back when the Bushcraft School was open, we started harvesting it, dry it out, and pounding it, and either mixing it with coffee or mixing it with tea. And just such a cool plant. And the stands of it, not even right next to the road that we had, were just incredible. From a distance, all you saw was this quilt of purple, of that lavender purple. So yeah, I've been known chicory for a long time, and I'm a huge proponent of it.
Yeah.
Nice, and it's still in the it's still blended in with that there's a coffee.
It's the Dandy blend. Is that what you're thinking of?
No.
Cafe Du Monde.
Cafe du
Yeah,
Monde.
Cafe Du Monde, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's out of New Orleans, I think, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can still get
Yep.
coffee blended with
Mhm.
chicory pretty regularly. And the other just one other fantastic thing about chicory. So Aquarius suns and Aquarius in general tends to have issues with digestion, right? And chicory has a lot of inulin, so creates
Okay.
prebiotics in the stomach, which aid in digestion.
Really
Yeah, and
interesting.
in that it can actually give you energy, actually more holistic energy than the
Yeah.
caffeine rush
Right on.
that happens. It's like, and I know I love your we have fond memories of your weapons grade coffee that you would brew down at the Bushcraft School.
Yep. Always. You got to get everybody started off leaded,
Yeah.
like zombie pee, like that. Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
All right. So, Jason, just a little story of how, or well, Matthew, do you want to talk about how we first met
Yeah,
Jason?
well, we first met at the All About Fire retreat that you had done. That was in 2018, I think, maybe end of 2017, actually. That was a while ago now. It was like almost 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we had come down to the bushcraft school. We were getting really into bushcraft and primitive skills, and it seemed like a really, really good fit. And we had a great time. And then fast forward to like spring of 2020, everything's going down with COVID. Crystal calls you, have like some serious discussions about the potential collapse of civilization, or even worse, the introduction of a police state. And then that inspires us to go down for a week
Right on.
and learn as much primitive skills as we can, just because, God forbid anything terrible happens. And so, yeah, I think we've always really hit it off, and we would have loved to have kept studying too, and hopefully could study more with you in the future as well.
Yeah, fond memories of that too. And it's always nice to hear that. I cross paths with a lot of people unprompted now that had either been to a class or been to one of the gatherings or something that we had done. And it's really nice to hear that people um, really felt welcome at the old North American Bushcraft School and got something out of it, and particularly the people that are still doing it, that we did some good work. We did some really, really good things there. And it's cool for me to hear that. And it validates what we started to do when we got the whole project off the ground. Is, we wanted to create a space for people to come and feel welcome. And so thank you for that. I'm glad.
Well, I think that there's something about the practice, just the basic practice of primitive skills and doing that alongside other people and the innate connection to the earth and to the mother that fosters. I think it's very easy to I don't know, it feels familial. It feels kind of at home. It feels like it's easy to, from deeper connections doing that kind of thing, doing things that our ancestors did for millennia.
I have thought about this a lot. I still do, and particularly with a lot of the kids programs. And I'm teaching. I'm in a middle school full time now, and being very mindful of this lineage, this sequential lineage of human beings, and how. And I don't really know when the jump off point was. We kind of strayed from the course, and I think a lot of it coincided with a lot of the modern technologies that we have. And again, I don't really know if there's one or if it's kind of a symbiotic combination where we don't have to think the way we used to. We don't have to use 8 digits and 2 opposable thumbs to provide for ourselves the way we used to. So there's a part of our brain, there's a part of our thinking process that has become dormant. And when kind of like the premise of the gatherings to me, and I say this at Mountaincraft, and when Sarah and I had originally talked about Mountaincraft, what I felt like I wanted to do was what I had heard about the original Woodstock, that never not even recorded history, had that many people gotten together and it was harmony. It just worked. That there were no fights, there were few problems, because people genuinely wanted to be the best versions of themselves they could be in that time that happened. And it wasn't planned. But when it happened, we tapped into something deeper about us, about the human condition and humanity and us. And that's what I wanted to do. And I remind myself of that all the time, that we can do these things. And I don't want to sound like I'm all over the map. I think
not at all.
One of the skills that human beings are the worst at, that we are the least successful at, is communication. And I make it a point on a regular basis to have that not affect me as much. And I'm not saying I'm a wizard or anything, but I'm very, very mindful of when I convey sentiments or feelings or opinions or whatever the context is, whatever the conversation is, that I want to see and hear what I'm saying as much as I can. So the message, whatever it is, gets across the way I want it to, whether it's fluidity and harmony and something harmonious, or I'm pissed off about something. I want to make sure in that spectrum in between that I get my point across as effectively and clearly as I can. And so, I think about all these things and these primitive skills and bushcraft and these things that we talk about, not really the wilderness survival mindset, but I think about like this, here's something. When I think about fire, about the ability to produce fire, one thing that's undeniable, every human being that you ever meet, every human being that your parents, your grandparents, your great-great-grandparents, every one of us alive, every human being without exception, we're the beneficiaries and the recipients of our ancestors' curiosity with fire. Yeah. We didn't have like YouTube or TikTok or people like myself who teach it. We knew it came from the sky, and we knew it came from a hole in the ground. We're the only animal that walked toward it and picked it up, and it's been with us ever since. Every other animal, and I mean, some people say a rhino might step on fire. I mean, I don't know, I've never seen it. But every other animal has an inherent fear of fire. We are the ones that picked it up, and all of the things that changed after that, and then we developed it. It started to understand it, and we could recreate it and replicate the methods to make it. And we turned it into a tool, not just a process. And what that tool has done for us today, nothing in our world would be the same without the ability to have intentionally harnessed and being able to reproduce fire. We wouldn't have been able to walk away from the equator. I mean, without exception, heat and the application of heat has done so much for us. And I think about that and how magical and how sacred it is. And that coupled with all the other bushcraft and primitive skills has gotten us here, and being able to get together, sit with each other, unplug from this world that we live in. I know it sounds like a cliche, and sit with other people under the same sky that, how many hundreds of generations back, sit under the same sky, do the same things, and share the same time is pretty cool. It's pretty cool to, hopefully I can be put on that timeline of people that believed in it and wanted to share it with each other.
So I feel like we were going to do this later, but I feel like this is a great segue. Do you want to talk more about how you started hosting the Mountaincraft Gathering? Tell us a little bit about what
Sure.
the dream was and about how it's being reborn this year.
So I'll try to make this succinct because there's a rabbit hole here. So there were two groups of people. One on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. One started, let me do the math. I believe it was about 50 years ago. I'd have to check my math. There was a few guys that got together, and they're like the OGs of primitive skills, and they started a gathering called Rabbit Stick. And it was basically a bunch of people, like the old school people that really lived in the Native American replicated dwellings or log cabins, no electricity, no running water, like about as authentic as you could get. There was one group on the West Coast and one group on the East Coast. And they started these gatherings, and I'm very fortunate to have met most of them, the ones that are still alive. When I started participating in these things eons ago, and their real goal was to shed light on primitive skills, but to give the indigenous peoples in North America in particular their due and proper. And they would basically just get together. It wasn't about money, butchering deer and making hand drill and bow and drill fires and making proper buckskin. And it turned into almost like the parking lot at a Grateful Dead show, the old Grateful Dead shows. These people would get together and they would just do these things, very organic, very disorganized, but it started to really turn into a thing. And I was fortunate to start out as a participant, and then an instructor, and then kind of a coordinator, and then an admin. And like we were talking about before, the feeling that people get, and this isn't just, fortunately, it isn't just me. I just know it. Being able to tap into something, it's even hard to articulate it, where you just feel it's so easy to be present, and you see the same things in other people, and you see kids running around playing with each other. You see people that are genuinely wanting to do things to create an environment of unconditional acceptance and kindness and love, and share it with each other. And it's palpable. And I knew and continue to know how important that is. And I don't want to use the cliche, particularly right now. I don't think we've ever had a time that wasn't challenging. I think there's some unique things, unique components to the challenges that we're facing right now, but showing people that it's possible to get together with other people and just be, and just exist and learn some cool things, but be able to be vulnerable, if you will, in a conversation, in an environment, and have people that are genuinely not wanting to take advantage of that. Learn things, share food, share space, share conversation. Y'all know what I mean? And when it's over with, I mean, you're freaking exhausted because it's busy and we're going all night in drum circles. But when you go back to your prospective home, something's different for the better. And I know how important that was. And that was a goal when Sarah and I started the Bushcraft School, is I wanted to do a gathering. My trick was, kind of my jam was, I wanted to put a music component to it, because as we know, the oldest instrument separate from your voice is arguably is a drum. And the drum replicates your heartbeat, speeds up, you're moving around faster, slows down. It's a little bit more kind of eccentric, eclectic. And we do a lot of music at the gatherings, but that wasn't a focus. And my thing, hence the Mountaincraft Music Gathering, was to have people come and teach dancing and teach drumming and teach different strings and things like that. And that was kind of, everyone has kind of a signature to it because of the people who organize it. That was it wasn't really my thing, it was our thing, because, Sarah was a very talented musician as well. And we wanted to bring that. We wanted to update it and do that. And I think, what was it, 6 mountain crafts? Yeah, we did it. And the last one was 19. Went out with a bang. It was absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. I got approached by somebody last year. This was some kind of weird cosmic timing. I had been thinking about it a lot. I had been thinking about doing another one. It took me a little bit to get back into circulation. I needed some time to heal and some time to think
Yeah.
and some time to kind of regroup and kind of see what the next kind of chapter and which trajectory I wanted my life to go. And I've been thinking about it, and I was starting to miss it and remember how good it felt. And I think what I can offer and bring to the table is there's a few of us that like being punching bags as event coordinators for these things. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it was really funny. I got a phone call out of nowhere. She said, would you be interested in being a part of a gathering? And I'm like, okay, you piqued my curiosity. I said, I'm interested. I'd like to meet with all the people involved. Unfortunately, it's a group of us. And I met with the people that were wanting to do this, and it's a place called the Reed Center in Middletown, Maryland, and the cat who runs it, and all the other people there. And I'm like, this feels good. There's some very, very, very creative, very capable, very just give me something to do, and I will figure out how to do it. People, and we talked, and they had a really good game plan. And I got, particularly with this one, I get to focus on what I think I bring to the table is I'm the instructor coordinator and the work trade coordinator, and I'm going to be basically overseeing the kitchen. And it feels really good to be part of this again. And it's happening October 2nd through 6th. So it's happening in a few couple weeks, right south of Frederick, Maryland. And we've got some fantastic people involved, got a bunch of brand new instructors, a bunch of brand new work traders. And it feels really good to kind of come up for air like this. And it's kind of a cool thing. We're resurrecting the Mountaincraft and Music Gathering again. We got 7 bands on board for this one. And my oldest cousin, who is just badass musician, badass bluegrass musician, and his band are playing at this. And I think we might, I've not played music with him for, I don't know how long, decades. I think we're going to get up and play something. I'm playing a harmonica, and we'll play some blues or something like that. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We got some really cool.
I'm so excited. I'm really, really excited. Yeah, we're definitely really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And so would you tell us, Jason, a little bit about how you got interested in primitive skills and why that became, what's that draw that made this become such a centripetal part of your life and fueled you in so many heroic feats?
I think I don't think it's a thing that is specific to me. I think all of us feel this, and all of us, if we're genuinely honest with ourselves, it finds you. You don't find it. This isn't like all of a sudden I realize, like, oh, I really like the color purple, or yes, I like this color couch more than something else. It's something that we're all hardwired to know, because if our ancestors were not successful at these things, we wouldn't have survived. Like we're the smart ones. We wouldn't be here. And I get asked this question a lot, and I have been for quite some time. When I was a little kid, whenever a television show would come on, like a National Geographic special that had anything to do with caveman, Neanderthal, the plains in Africa, hominid, anything like that, everything was secondary to me. I could tune the world out. And there was something about it that was so cool to me. Whenever I would go on a school trip to like the Museum of Natural History, I was not interested in anything there other than some of the animals, but the early man exhibits and stone tools and all these things that came long before this little kid is standing here. And there was something about, I couldn't, whenever I would find an article or like the books in the library, I checked every one of them out. Like I would look at the Dewey Decimal System little cards that used to be in the back when I was in elementary school, and I would check the book out, and it was my name on every one of them. And whenever that was a topic in school, I would always get 100% A+ on it when it had to do with things like that. And over time, as I got a little bit older, it just became an interest. There was something about it, and I guess we're all engineers. That's how our brains are wired. We engineer things. We build things. We refine them. We look and see what somebody else did and be like, oh, okay, that's a really good idea. And we refine it, these technologies and these tools to make our lives easier. My dad was the same way. And my grandfather really was like that. You remember the cabin
Mhm.
back in West Virginia. He built that. He designed it and he built it. He dug the pond. He resurfaced a lot of the spaces there for gardens. And he did most of this by himself. He had some help
Wow.
with some projects. And that's the way they were children of the Great Depression. That's the way his brain worked. And he embraced it. And I've always felt like that. And being honest with myself, that coupled with pretty interesting manifestation of ADD. If I see something and I'm interested in it, I cannot put it down until I understand it at its molecularly simplistic form. And yeah, and I'm just honest about it. And I see these things and realize that my ancestors did these things. We all did. And I love doing it. It feels good. The fluidity I've experienced building a bow or making a stone point, trying to respectfully replicate something from maybe a culture that I can't directly associate or identify with, but that these people did, understanding how they came to these technologies. It's magical. So I don't know if I've got a concrete answer for you yet, but I see these things, architecture, tools that people have made, things that people have figured out, how we figured out how to cure meat, the aldehydes and smoke help keep bacteria from growing on things, being able to insulate ourselves and shoes and Utsi the Iceman and the tools that he had that was found in the Italian Alps in 91 and how his culture and his people produce these things. It's just it's a rabbit hole that you get stuck in it. You never want to come out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Long circular answer.
No, it's very clear. I mean, so we'll have a lot of people listening to this who are kind of maybe like cursorily interested in primitive skills or like hesitantly interested in it. What kind of what benefits would you say, or like what are the what kind of sales techniques would you give to like get them to like say this is good for you, you should do this, this is an important part of your life?
I think that's a big ask. I think there are a lot of reasons for it, and I think I would be, as I've told people before, be honest with yourself about what you're really interested in. I think people have a tendency to gravitate towards the things that they may identify as a personality trait with, particularly guys that look like me, and the furrowed brow and bows and arrows. You do the inflection in my voice. I have been honest with myself for quite some time. I love making baskets. I went and lived with a Cherokee elder, a lady named Nancy Basket, probably, what would it have been, 15 years ago, and did a basket apprenticeship with her because I wanted to understand how to do some very specific things with natural basketry. And I got permission from her to do a thing called the wheat stitch on pine needle baskets. I love crocheting. I love macrame. I love understand plant medicine. I think everything is equally as important. Like you can be the best fire practitioner in the world, but should you find yourself with a small group of people out harvesting things and you're not familiar with a lot of other stuff, it's to your detriment. So being a very rounded generalist is very important to me. What I have told people in the past is if you're interested in it, start pulling up websites. And I'm not going to reference any of them, all of them. Vet the people that you're reading the information about. Do some reviews and make sure it's somebody who has been practicing this for a long time and isn't somebody who just started a YouTube channel because it's a cool thing to do and who doesn't have a solid resume. And be honest with yourself about what interests you and get into that. If it continues to interest you, run with it. After you feel comfortable with that and you're like, yeah, I got this, find something else. And find something else and surround yourself with people that are going to support you in whatever decisions that you make that like maybe some of the same stuff, maybe some contrasting stuff. And it becomes, it kind of almost becomes a bigger part of you. You get to start seeing how people did things. And it doesn't matter which one. Some things like gardening or making an apothecary have definite effects on you, or making kombucha or jun. Definite health benefits, like in real time, in the moment, you can see these things because you can see the direct benefits of them. And we're, reminding ourselves that all of our peoples did these things. It doesn't matter what continent your people came from. We all did this stuff. So it's a direct connection. to where we all came from. And now, granted, we're not going to be wearing buckskin every day or necessarily building a log cabin or making our own bows and arrows because we're going to be using them. But the ability to do that is like, damn, it's something about it. To me, everything else got easier. Other things in my life, other challenges, when I could tell myself, okay, you figured this out. This may be just prohibitively challenging for you, but you figured this out. You can figure this out, even down to being smart enough or capable enough to go, this is not my wheelhouse. This is not my lane, but I'm going to find somebody whose it is. And I'm going to try to be friends with this person. Tell them, I suck at this. Can you help me? What can we do to trade? And it's been working for quite some time. If that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I think at least my experience, at the Bushcraft School, some other places where we've studied this stuff, but like I was expecting a lot of people who were like sort of furrowed brow, wilderness survival, bows and arrows, note the inflection in my voice. And that's really not what a lot of the people are like who get into this. They're generally very like creative, inquisitive, curious, open, who are looking to deepen their connection to the earth, gain some more skills, and I think it's often like a kind of creative outlet for people. The people who like macrame, who like basket weaving, who like pottery. Even the people who get really into bows and arrows, they bring a craftsmanship to it. It's a work of beauty, some of these bows that I've seen. Yeah.
I think so. There's a lot to that, to what you're referring to. Sarah and I talked about this a lot when we started the Bushcraft School, what it is we really wanted to do, what our real foundational goals were. And it was more that we wanted to create a space. We wanted to create a space and a place for anybody and everybody. And this is without exception, that could come, particularly those that didn't feel comfortable for one reason or another, going to a gathering or a class because of some of the connotations and some of the things that had been done in the past. That we had heard this over time from a lot of people that came. They kind of wanted to check it out. They wanted to kind of test the waters and realize that toxic masculinity was not something that was welcome there. Starting with me. That we wanted, again, all those that didn't feel comfortable going to another place that they had either been to and not felt welcome or had heard about from other people and were like, well, that's not where we want to be. And it was very important for us to offer the same content experts, but we were all very careful, the people that we invited to come and teach, to make sure that those people that were teaching were 100% all inclusive about the people that would come into their class. And if somebody came into their class, when that class was over, we wanted to make sure that that person that participated was like, I have found my flock. And we did. And it felt really, really good. There's primitive skill schools are a freaking dime a dozen. There's so many of them. Some have been around for a long time. Some are newer. Every one of them has something for everybody. There's people that want that real furrowed brow. I was in the military for a long time. I get it. They want that experience. And then there's the absolute, and I don't even want to say other end of the spectrum, but a very, very different place. And we didn't necessarily we wanted to be somewhere in between those goalposts. And most importantly, we wanted to make sure that all those that were very gun shy of going to a place like that because of people that look like me, when they meet me, realize, oh, that ain't that cat. He ain't like that. And we did. And the feedback we got from lots of different people that had gone to other organizations, classes, schools, the litany of different places that offer these things. And they said they continued to come back with us. I mean, I thought we were pretty good at what we did, but because they felt safe and because they felt welcome. So yeah, did that answer your question?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think we absolutely, so, I first came to your school right after going to the tracker school. Right. And I was just stunned at the difference. It's like, first of all, you had people, well, there's caretakers at the tracker school, but you had a couple of apprentices living there, and they were just so cool, so kind, so open. And there was and the other times we've been there, it does feel like a really strong, not familial, but yeah, like a familial, yeah, a familial connection, like real community. And that's like these skills are like, I can take care of you with these hands.
Yeah.
Right? It's like we're learning this because we're going to take care of each other. Right. So the one time we came down when we were breaking up Osage, was
Mhm.
it
Yeah, we're
Osage? Or
making
no, it was
the
Pig Nut Hickory.
Hickory.
We were breaking up Pig Nut Hickory for
Both days.
both days. And you had this family that was living that lived next to you who would come down and help out. And it was like the little boy went down and he was catching fish for us to eat that night. And I was just, yeah, it was just so touched. And it's like, and people other times we've been there, we'd like, well, we're gonna go harvest some food for dinner tonight. And it just felt so, it's like it's really nourishing, right? It's like the skills are directly feeding into this. Like, yeah, this is what humans do. Humans take care of each other. And I know how to take care of you. Not through capitalism and money and these, big corporations, but me. I've learned how to do something for you that's going to make us as a group feel nourished, feel safe.
Well, Mahatma Gandhi said it, be the change you want to see in the world. And I never lost sight when we did this, when we started this, realizing that people, the higher up you are on the flagpole, the more your ass hangs out to sea. That I reminded myself all the time that people are going to be looking at me. And I have to be very, very mindful of what I say and how I say it. And the way I behave, the way I carry myself, the way I interact with people. And as these changes, these updates, these social updates, these things that we're really starting to talk about, I have to be very mindful that if I had been doing something, saying something, using a term, using a word, and it made somebody feel uncomfortable, to be honest with myself, is this okay? So what's going on? I have never felt like that. I've never been on the receiving end of a lot of things a lot of people had since shared with me, that if there was something being updated in the way we interact with each other so we can all feel welcome the way I have, I got to listen to it. And I'm very, very careful about that. And if somebody would share something with me like, yeah, you might want to think about ... I'm not going to push back. It's not up for me to decide whether it's fair or convenient for me to not use the word change, like it's not fair, I'm stubborn, but going, and a lot of people did. A lot of people said things like, hey man, you might want to think about this word instead, or there's some things. And some of these things were not on my radar because I just didn't know. I wasn't aware or exposed to them. Not that that's an excuse or I'm trying to push back against it. But when somebody would tell me, I'd be like, all right. Or got to be friends with some very unique, very cool people. And I'd check in with them. Not like tell me what I need to know, but like, I don't necessarily rotate in these circles. Can you help me out? Can you get me started in a direction? And all of them were very aware that I wanted to know what I needed to know. So I thought about that a lot. And when people would come, making sure that we would eat, that people felt safe, that they were safe, that you could come in and that this is possible. And that a lot of people, for any number of reasons, are very disillusioned and have had very bad experiences, whether it's in their daily life and they're just, depression kicks in. When you come to a place like this, we hoped for is like, wow, this is just cool. And maybe a little bit of hope that it can continue and that maybe it's something they wanted to take with them in a way to interact or a menu item or anything like that to go and bring back to their daily routine and then always come back and hang out. Most of the people that came first time came back. We had a recidivism rate that was pretty impressive. And then some people would come back and do apprenticeships. And a lot of those people are now teaching or doing things in that related field. So I'm glad that you say that. That was so important for me. That, I mean, you can teach a grade 8 how to make stone tools. I mean, you can, but being able to be in a place, and I was never interested in being that content expert like that. I'm not. I'm good at a lot of stuff, but I was never interested in being like some of my mentors that were literally, probably when they were alive, were some of the best at what they did in the world. That wasn't a goal of mine. I mean, it would have been cool, but what I wanted to do is be approachable. I wanted to be kind. I wanted to be accessible. I hope, and I don't know, maybe this is a stretch too far, that I can be part of that evolution of a positive sense of masculinity and not the toxic.
Yeah.
That it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to be kind. When you have to clock in and lay a hammer down, then you do, but being very careful when and where, but being approachable, playing with kids, being very mindful of the way you carry yourself, being kind to the planet, protecting the water, lots of stuff like that. So yeah, I never lost sight of that. I was always very, very cognizant and very cogent about it.
We're coming near the end of our time, but before we conclude and also talk about Mountaincraft coming up again soon, I want to kind of because I see a very common theme here with everything that we've talked about, like these very Venusian qualities, essentially, like the focus on art and the incorporation of music, and a couple different traditions that I've worked at, like music especially, is like a capstone to a lot of like meditative, foundational,
Oh yeah.
even body work that you do. It's all building up towards dance or singing or music, and the incorporation of art into like what you build, and the incorporation of art and beauty into how you treat other people and the kind of community that you
Yeah.
make as well. And I think that's certainly very, very foundational to like how you hold space and how you work, Jason, too.
Well, thank you. I have been to a lot of different schools. I've sat with a lot of very well-known people, East Coast, West Coast, Southeast United States, this part of the world, um, Southwest, California, Oregon, Washington State. And I feel like on that lineage of people that offered these things, I was as honest as I could be with myself about what I brought to the table. And some of it, I just I kind of gave in and was like, just, I want to be a conduit, I guess, of whatever that means. And I had met some people that were incredibly good at what they did. They were just content experts, were so incredibly storied and researched, but they sucked at being instructors. I met people that were just incredible at passing on information, that were articulate, very aware of their delivery, could have anybody with any type of learning style or the way people absorb information. You could have 10 people that were as diverse as you could come up with. And at the end of that block, everybody got it. And I'm like, which one did I want to be? And one of these was my mentors. Was when he was alive, there weren't many people that were as able to do what he did, but he was a very difficult person to learn from. And his approach was very, he qualified you didn't qualify him. And I always felt absolutely the opposite. When people come and they're going to sit with me, you qualify me. I am very fortunate and very appreciative that you decided to come and get information from me. I feel almost like a spiritual obligation. I have to figure out how to give it to you. I have to figure out how, when we're done right here in this moment, that you walk away and go, that was so cool. I felt so good. And I can go home and replicate this.
So I actually, with the time that we have, and I know you have to leave in 10 minutes, but we talked a good bit about Mountaincraft.
Yeah.
I would love for you to talk more about, you mentioned, the spiritual obligation, right? And I know that, these skills and the way that you live and the way that you treat people are a part of a profound spiritual. I'll let you. How would you like to, because I don't want to like put words into your mouth, but I know you're a very spiritually in tune man, and that you carry that into how you teach and how you pass on this wisdom.
I think a lot of that is tied in with what I said before, that these are things that all of our peoples did that got us here. If they were not successful, everybody alive today, if our ancestors, 100 generations back, if they weren't collectively good at all of these things, um, that one, it's kind of that butterfly effect. I might not be here if one of my ancestors, who, just using this as an example, and anybody can draw a parallel to this, or they can put themselves in the same situation. If one of my ancestors that was tasked with going out and picking a certain plant for food or for medicine, they were not, they hadn't paid attention enough to not mistake Cicuta maculata, a hemlock, with Queen Anne's lace, and they picked the wrong plant. Bank, erase the whole lineage, erase the whole family tree, and all of these things. If that person didn't make their bow correctly, and they're drawn down on a large herbivore or carnivore, and the bow snapped or the arrow point wasn't done correctly, they didn't pick the right rock out, they would have gotten mauled or killed. There's so many things that we can draw to. The culmination of that, and same brain, same double helix, same genetic makeup as my ancestors, a few changes, but pretty much the same. I wouldn't be here. And I think about that and how fortunate I am to be here. Even down to, of all the sperm that fertilized that egg, I'm the one that did it. And it's the same with every human being you ever meet, say the same thing, that I'm the one that was fortunate, that was strong enough, that was whatever. All of us are. And I feel like, to pay homage to that, this is what I can offer people, is the space and a platform to remind yourself of these things. And it's undeniable that I'm here, and when I'm here, I'm going to do the best I can with the time I'm here. So hopefully when I'm gone, people will say, yeah, I met that cat. Yeah, he was really good, and I felt really comfortable, and things like that. And I take the same thing into the classroom. Every day I go into school, and I work primarily with special needs kids, I absolutely remind myself of that. I don't want to say I'm lucky. It's not a gift. This is how my brain is wired. And that I can offer these things feels good, because I've met a lot of people who just, it's not a choice. This is how I'm wired, that I can do this. I feel like I have an obligation to embrace it and pay it forward. And on that timeline, on that list of people that have taken classes, people that have taken classes with all of us, that they hopefully they'll look back at me and be like, yeah, he got it. He totally nailed it. That's my hope.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jason. Are there any final words that you want to leave people with?
Live curiously, particularly to any kids that are listening to this. If you have a question, ask it. If you ask an adult a question and they say, because I told you so, find another adult. If you feel comfortable around somebody, slowly give them your trust. Always ask questions. Always. There's absolutely no reason to not critically think. And if you're an adult and you find yourself in a situation like that, find a new flock.
That's good.
Life's short. Life's short. Surround yourself with like-minded people. And the more like-minded, critically thinking people that don't take what they see and are able to not try to convince your brain that what you saw didn't happen and what you heard you didn't hear. People that will look at it and can pivot and change their mind if they see something that changes their mind. If I see something that I had liked, or a behavior from a person that I had aligned with before, and that person does something to change my mind, to be able to go, whoa, hold on, wait a minute, we got to pump the brakes. We should probably think about this. So live curiously.
Right. Live curiously, ask questions, find your people, and communication, what you were just talking about there. Clear communication, right? Being able
Absolutely.
to speak your mind to people who are willing to hear you and change.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, wise words. And so if you're feeling called towards some of these skills, and if you like like what Jason is offering here on, do you want to one more promo for Mountaincraft?
Sure. If you are interested, we still have lots of tickets. It's a 4-day event. We're opening the door on, I believe it's Wednesday, October 1st at noon for people to come in and set up. We're going to start classes the next morning, Thursday morning, and it goes till midday on Sunday. We've got 7 insane bands playing on Saturday night. We have a big concert along with Primitive Skills. We have all kinds of events. We have a huge kids program where we have people that work with kids that are staffing it, so the kids will be busy as well. So, excuse me, parents can take classes. If you are interested, there's more information on a place and ecological preserve, if you will, called the Reed Center in Middletown, Maryland, and that's their social media page as well. And yeah, all the information is there. If you have any questions, you can email or you can give me a call. Oh, and my website, which is there's still information about Mountaincraft, is bushcraft for bipeds at Gmail, or bushcraft for bipeds at gmail.com, or bushcraft for bipeds. And yeah, it's going to be a fantastic event. We've got fire classes and a whole bunch of herbal classes. And Crystal, you're going to be teaching. Matthew, you're just going to be kind of hanging out, right?
I'm gonna be hanging out. But yeah,
we've got some very, very cool stuff, some very, very cool classes planned. Very, very good food truck is going to be there.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just a fun time to congregate, learn some things, make some new friends, be around like-minded people, see some beautiful sunsets and sunrises, hear some insane music, and yeah, I'm stoked about it. I'm stoked about it. If you got questions, check it out and reach out if you need some clarification about anything.
And we'll include all that information in the description of the episode.
Nice. Awesome.
All right.
all right.
Thank you so much, Jason.
You're very welcome. It was so cool getting up with y'all again. Again, some very fond memories about the Bushcraft School, and particularly that last class we did. That was a lot of fun. We got some good work done.
It was.
Good time.
All right. Until next time, friends.
Take care.
Bye.